last segment. Now, we're on to unluckiest deaths.
In Sao Paulo, Brazil, a local farmer wanted to get rid of a beehive from his orange tree. Knowing the bees could turn aggressive, he figured he needed protection. His solution? Covering his head with a plastic bag. It sounds ridiculous, but to him, it made perfect sense. The clear plastic let him see what he was doing and kept the smoke typically used to calm bees.
My guy's a dumbass?
Out of his face. And with a small air pocket inside, he believed it would keep the bees from stinging him.
Why?
So he tightly wrapped the bag around his neck, lit a smoke bomb, and approached the hive. But almost
my son just choked himself out. What the heck was that? My son really just ended his own life. He really... Yo, he really said, let me put a bag in my face where bees are at and they can still sting me, and I'm gonna put a smoke bomb also. Okay.
Immediately, he started feeling lightheaded. Breathing got harder. He panicked.
The hell? Did I really just put a bag over my head? Why did I just do that?
Was already gone. He collapsed. A few hours later, his wife found him. He was dead. And it wasn't the bees or the smoke that killed him. It was suffocation.
Like, bro.
Because in all his planning, he overlooked one critical detail. Plastic bags don't let air in. And since he hadn't cut any breathing holes, he ran out of oxygen. A bizarre, unexpected mistake that proved fatal. And that's exactly what kind of real-life stories I cover in this video. As always, viewer discretion is advised.
I can tell this one's going to be a little bit more interesting. That was dumb as shit.
On October 1st, 1995, visitors at Niagara Falls witnessed more than just a breathtaking view. That day, Robert Overacker attempted a daring stunt, jumping off the falls with a parachute. But this wasn't.
Like, what's wrong with people, bro? It says unlucky as death. I feel like it's pretty stupid.
Just any jump. Robert had an entire plan mapped out. He designed a custom-built rocket parachute system, rode a jet ski straight toward the edge, and, just before going over, planned to trigger the rockets.
Yo, James fucking Bond? What the fuck? Shit.
Thrust would propel him away from the falls, allowing him to deploy his parachute and land safely. It wasn't just for the thrill. Robert wanted to raise awareness about homelessness. As he
Come on.
What is that gonna do for homeless people? Are like you jumping over them? What the?
sped toward the highest point of the falls, stunned tourists watched. Some pulling out cameras, unsure if they were witnessing a spectacle or a tragedy in the making. Then came the crucial moment. His jet ski tipped over the edge, but neither he...
I'm gonna lie, that was a crazy move. Who the fuck did I think I was, Superman? Trying to save the homeless? I'm gonna die. Why?
Rockets. Robert frantically pressed the button to activate the system. Nothing happened. He reached for his parachute. Still nothing. And in front of hundreds of onlookers, he plunged straight down into the raging water.
What a dumbass. I think he kind of deserved that.
Below, onlookers scanned the waters, hoping he'd resurface. But there was no sign of Robert. He had fallen 51 meters straight to his death. And all because of one fatal miscalculation.
He was a dumbass, yes. That was the fatal miscalculation. He forgot he was stupid.
Water makes everything wet. His ignition system failed, soaked beyond function. His parachute, it absorbed water, clumped up, and wouldn't open. Sadly, Robert paid for this mistake with his life. But he wasn't the only one. Young Eric Barcia also wanted to pull off an extreme stunt, bungee jumping. While bungee jumping comes with risks, certified operators follow strict safety protocols to minimize them. But for some reason, Eric chose to bypass the professionals. On July 13, 1997, he arrived at the Aquatic Creek Railroad Bridge in Springfield, USA.
That's not that high, is it?
Bungee cords. He twisted them together and secured one end to the 21-meter-high bridge. He fastened the other end to himself and jumped. 2 seconds later, he crashed face first into the ground.
What the... Yo, that did not look that high, did it?
The impact was fatal. When police arrived, they noticed something unusual. The bungee cord was still intact, firmly attached to both Eric and the bridge. It turned out he had made one fatal miscalculation. He only cut the cords a few meters shorter than the height of the bridge, not realizing that bungee cords stretch. A mistake that cost him his life. Some mistakes are fatal, others leave people alive. Just barely. From the start, Michael Sexton's plan was equal parts romantic.
I kind of want that last name. Sexton.
And reckless. In 2020, he set out on a treasure hunt in the Rocky Mountains. He had read a book by eccentric art dealer Forrest Fenn, who claimed he had buried a chest filled with gold coins and artifacts.
Ah, he scammed him. He fooled him, bro. Come on, damn.
Worth $2 million. Hidden within the book, Fenn had left clues to its location. Around 350,000 thrill seekers had tried and failed to find it. But by February 2020, Sexton was convinced he had cracked the code. So he invited his 65-year-old friend to join him on a trip to Dinosaur National Monument.
65? Leave that man at home. Why? He can barely walk. Let me stop, bro. 65.
Straddling the Colorado-Utah border. The plan was simple. Hike in, grab the treasure, and walk out as millionaires before sunrise. But the mountains had other plans. At some point, they lost their way. With no tent, no warm clothes, and barely any supplies, exhaustion and cold set in quickly. And as night fell, so did panic.
Wow.
Rescuers found them just in time, barely clinging to life.
Oof. Poor old guys.
It took them a full month to recover, but as soon as they did, they made an unthinkable decision. They went back. On March 17th.
What the? You know what, bro? We almost died. We almost died, didn't we? But let's go back. Because we really like that, my G. Nothing can stop us. We're just old. Maybe age. Maybe exhausted again. Why are you going back? And set out once
more, determined to claim the treasure. This time, they were slightly better prepared, packing a couple of energy bars, 2 bottles of water, some extra clothes, and renting snowmobiles. What could possibly go wrong?
Look at that! Very prepared, very demure.
Fortunately, when the rental company noticed they hadn't returned by evening, they alerted the local rangers. It took 3 days for search teams to find the abandoned snowmobiles. A set of footprints led them deeper into the mountains, and just over a kilometer away, they found the 2 men curled up, frozen among the rocks. In a cruel twist of fate, it was nearly the same spot where they had been rescued.
So, bro, what the fuck? Even with snowmobiles and all this, like, what the fuck? Are they,
The first time, but this time, Sexton wasn't breathing. His friend survived, but he refused to talk about what had happened during those terrifying 4 days. And just a few months later, Forrest Fenn announced that the treasure had finally been found. Was it real? Did it even exist? No one really knows. Maybe it had something to do with the fact that the FBI had started looking into how Fenn got his so-called treasure in the first place. Or maybe it was because Sexton wasn't the only one to die searching for it. At least 3 other people had lost their lives, too.
ridiculous.
But be honest, if you were absolutely sure you knew where a $2 million treasure was buried, wouldn't you at least consider going after it? Let me know in the comments. This didn't have to go anywhere to find trouble.
Yo, who dude just got flung by?
Itself found him right at home. 24-year-old Philip Quinn was in his trailer, excitedly watching his brand new lava lamp after plugging it in. But lava lamps need patience. The wax inside has to melt before they start working properly. Philip waited for hours, but nothing was happening, so he decided to speed things up. He took the lamp to the kitchen and placed it directly on the stovetop. At first, his plan worked.
What's wrong
the
with
lamp
people?
heated up quickly, and soon, the wax inside began its mesmerizing dance. But there was one tiny problem. Lava lamps are designed to operate at a controlled temperature from an electrical outlet, not under the direct heat of a stove. Before Philip realized his mistake, the lamp overheated. Just as he leaned in,
he still had it on the...
for a closer look. Boom! The lamp exploded right in his face. Philip stumbled backward, disoriented, but somehow made it to his bed. But by the time he collapsed onto it, he was already gone.
Damn.
A massive shard of glass had pierced straight into his heart. Now, common sense says you probably shouldn't put a lava lamp on a stove, but who would have thought it could turn into a deadly bomb?
Me.
Unlike that, what 55-year-old Marko from Croatia was working with was undeniably explosive. Marko was a hands-on kind of guy. On January 13th, 2005, he decided to clean out the chimney in his home. But there was a problem. The pipe was too long, and a regular brush just wasn't
That's what she said.
cutting it. Still, Marko
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
wasn't the type to give up easily. He headed to his workshop, determined to come up with a tool that could get the job done. It didn't take him long to figure it out. He just needed to attach a brush to a chain and add some weight to it, so it could naturally drop down the chimney. Simple enough. The weight had to be compact, metal, and heavy enough to do the trick. And luckily, Marko had just the thing, so he got to work welding it into the chain. But then a massive explosion tore through half of his workshop. The blast was so powerful
After his workshop? Damn.
that it threw Marko outside. When he hit the ground, he wasn't breathing.
Marko, get up! Marko!
When police arrived, they uncovered a shocking truth. Marko holding a live hand grenade.
How the fuck? How don't you know this?
To the chain.
You're loading a goddamn. You're loading a fucking grenade into the chain, bro. What? Yo, bro. What?
And when it heated up, it detonated. Where did he even get it? Did he know what he was dealing with? Those questions remain a mystery.
Where did he get that from? What the?
Still, the last person expecting things to go horribly wrong was a moviegoer in Birmingham, England. On a regular day in March 2018, a young father, Atiq Rafiq, and his partner decided to go to the movies. And not just any seats. They went all out on VIP tickets, paying extra for the so-called gold class experience. These seats were bigger, far more comfortable, and had electronic footrests that transformed them into full-on loungers. The movie ended, and Atiq realized his phone and keys had slipped out of his pocket. He bent down to grab them, but in that moment, the motorized footrest suddenly came down on his head. He struggled, trying to push himself free, and shouted for help. Then he started screaming. The force crushing his head and neck was over 750 kilograms. For 15 agonizing minutes, his partner and theater staff desperately tried to free him. But by the time they finally did, his skin had turned blue. He wasn't breathing. Paramedics rushed him to the hospital, where doctors fought to save him for a week. But the
Yo, imagine going to the movies, bro, and getting clipped by a fucking massage chair. Oh my gosh. How, bro? How you get clipped in such a compromising, like, position? Yo, it's like one of those thumbnails you see on Pornhub. Oh, I'm stuck. Hey, bro, the whole movie crew would have took advantage of you, gang. Why am I thinking? Yo, oh my gosh. That's insane.
damage was too severe. Massive head trauma and critical neck injuries. In the end, his heart gave out. Later, investigators discovered a major design flaw. The seat had no manual release lever to lift the footrest. Instead, it was fully automated. And the worst part? The fuse controlling Atiq's seat had burned out, making it impossible to stop the mechanism in time. But if you thought this was shocking, just wait, because the next story proves that bad habits really can be deadly. One of those dangerous habits belonged to a 43-year-old woman on a long-haul bus from Glasgow to London. She was in for a grueling 7-hour ride. But for her, this wasn't just a long ride. It was pure torture. She was a heavy smoker, and both smoking on the bus and during stops was strictly prohibited. Hours passed, and her frustration kept building, until she finally snapped. At some point, she stormed up to the driver, demanding him to pull over immediately, and maybe he would have, just to calm her down. But the bus was on a highway where stopping wasn't an option. Passengers watched as she stormed away from the driver. Then, without warning, she wrenched open the doors of the moving bus while it sped down the highway at 100 kilometers per hour.
Who smoke? No. Bro, it can never be that deep. Wow, bro, people are just... And this is... Somebody really died doing this. Like, these are confirmed deaths. Like, I just can't believe it. Out of a moving vehicle on a highway to smoke a cigarette? Why?
In an instant, she was gone. She tumbled out of the bus and straight into the path of an oncoming car. All that for a cigarette? Hard to say. But one thing's for sure. Some choices are unbelievably reckless.
Those cigarettes she was smoking was laced with fucking dick. Bro, what?
On May 5th, 2018, Prabhu Bhattara was heading home from a wedding.
Yo, is that the Avatar? Oh, let me stop. I'm sorry, guys. Don't cancel me.
With a few other guests. At some point during the drive, he pulled over and wandered into the trees to relieve himself. That's when he spotted something unusual, a wounded bear resting in a clearing. And for some reason, instead of walking away, his first instinct was to take a selfie. But he didn't just want a selfie, he wanted the perfect shot. So he moved in closer, way too close. And that's when the bear attacked. It lunged, slamming Prabhu to the ground. He fought back with everything he had, but it was no use. Meanwhile, his friends just stood there, filming. One of them tried to scare the bear away with a rag. Not the smartest strategy. At one point, even a stray dog jumped in to help, but none of it mattered. By the time the forest rangers...
The dog was like, chill, bro, chill. He was just trying to take a pic.
...arrived that evening, the bear had calmed down enough to be taken in for treatment. But for Prabhu, it was too late. He didn't survive. Let this be a reminder. Wild animals are never as harmless as they look. And as for the next story, it's a perfect example of why you should never overestimate what your body can handle. In November 1997, in the small town of Exeter, Pennsylvania, a man named Wayne Roth stopped by his friend Roger's place. It was supposed to be a normal hangout, except for one small detail. Roger had a nearly 2-meter-long cobra in his
2
apartment.
meters.
For some reason,
How big is 2 meters? I'm American. And dumb.
Wayne decided to take a closer look. Big mistake. The cobra suddenly lashed out, sinking its fangs into his hand and injecting a dose of...
Why did the snake just catch up to him like that? Where was that snake?
For some reason, Wayne decided to take a closer look. Big mistake. The cobra suddenly lashed out, sinking its fangs into his hand and injecting a dose of deadly neurotoxin. This venom...
Look at the friend back there. He's like, oh, shit. Why'd you do that?
Attacks the central nervous system, causing intense pain, vision problems, loss of coordination, and, in severe cases, paralysis and death. Roger panicked and told Wayne they needed to call an ambulance right away. But Wayne, he said he felt fine. Instead of going to the hospital, he shrugged it off and said he could handle it. And where did he...
Yo, who bro thought he was? Who thought he was? He said, nah, bro. I just ate that snake bite. Venom? Ha. My body's the anti-venom, bro. Fuck is you talking about? Snakes? What?
Decided to go? A bar. While knocking back drink
after... Oh my gosh, he went to the fucking bar.
Drink, he bragged to other patrons about being bitten by a cobra. But after his third round, Wayne suddenly collapsed. He clutched his chest, feeling his heart...
Snake the
heart pounding erratically. Terrified, Roger dragged him to the car and sped to the hospital. But by the time they arrived, Wayne wasn't breathing. The lesson here seems obvious. Don't mess with deadly snakes.
Oh my god, what an
Here's
idiot.
the shocking part. Wayne could have survived. First, he refused medical help, likely because of the old school idea that men should always be tough and fearless. But more importantly, the coroner discovered that Wayne didn't actually die from the venom. His blood was already so full of alcohol and illegal substances that it was enough to kill him. The neurotoxin?
His overdose.
That was just the final push his body couldn't handle.
Wow.
Wayne Roth did just about everything possible to put himself in danger.
Wow.
But here's the truth. You don't have to go that far to pay the ultimate price.
Okay.
On Easter Monday in 2022, the Italian town of Cotalica witnessed ever.
What was she doing? She was twerking?
A 46-year-old local man broke into a supermarket, not to steal cash, electronics, or even alcohol, but for a single bottle of water. He reached into a tightly packed crate on a tall, fully stocked shelf, but as he pulled the bottle out, the whole construction wobbled, and then it all came crashing down. The next morning,
why did he break in for a bottle of water? Maybe he just got thirsty during the act of trying to do something else, because that's crazy.
Supermarket employees arrived to a disaster. Hundreds of bottles were scattered all over the floor. They started cleaning up, restocking the shelves, until one of them spotted something horrifying, a human hand. Underneath all the fallen crates and bottles, they found the man's lifeless body, crushed to death over a single bottle of water. Some might call it instant karma. And if you think that was bad, just wait until you hear what happened next. See for yourself. In the spring of 2022, Ukrainian forces liberated the city of Irpin, near Kiev, after it had been occupied by the Russian army earlier that year. Amidst the devastation, they stumbled upon something bizarre. While sorting through the personal belongings and gear of the invading soldiers, they discovered something unusual inside of one of their bulletproof vests. Normally, these vests hold metal plates designed to stop bullets, but this one, it had a stolen MacBook stuffed inside instead. Whether this makeshift armor got him killed, or if it was simply the consequences of invading in the first place, is a question of perspective. After that story, it feels fitting to mention a certain town, Brno am Inn. Yes, it's the birthplace of Adolf Hitler, but this story isn't about him. This is about Hans Steininger, the town's mayor way back in the 1560s. He was well liked, a good leader.
The beard is amazing. Wow. I'm trying to get like that.
Who genuinely cared about his town. But there was one thing he was truly famous for, his insanely long
Oh, it was real.
beard. It measured nearly 140 centimeters and had a distinctive split at the end, resembling a snake's tongue. Because it dragged on the ground, making walking difficult, Hans kept it neatly rolled up in a special pouch, and that idea worked perfectly until September 28th. That day, a fire broke out in the town, and as a responsible mayor, Hans rushed straight to the scene. Chaos had erupted.
Wait, what was he gonna do? Fucking cast a spell on the flames? What the hell?
And he was in the middle of it, trying to restore order.
Fucking Gandalf.
But in all that commotion, his beard slipped out of its pouch. With no time to fix it, he simply tossed it over his shoulder and kept moving. Then, disaster struck. Rushing down a flight of stairs, he tripped over his own beard. He tumbled all the way down, and by the time he reached the bottom, he was dead. Once again, proof that danger can come from the most unexpected places. But let's be real.
Damn. Yo, well, I think that one was the most interesting video. Either way, guys, let me know which one of you guys thought were the craziest deaths or the funniest ones or the strangest ones down in the comment section. Please like, share, and subscribe. I'll see you guys on the next one. All right. Boo, 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 boo.